Coming to you from our studios in Belize City, this is the evening news on Love Television for today, Friday, May 27th. We'll get started with the leading stories for today. A coconut vendor dies in road traffic accident. A teenager who reportedly shot at ACP Chester Williams charged. Bar Association president speaks on the law and mental health. Corozal Community College wins innovation competition and the United Democratic Party to elect new first deputy party leader on Sunday. 8 men confirmed to be Belizean fishermen were detained by the Guatemalan Navy and handed over to the Guatemalan immigration officials and taken to Guatemala City for processing. Reports are that the men were detained when they were found disembarking their vessel at the Punta Manabique beach in the department of Izabal, Guatemala. Of the 8 men, 7 of them had Belizean fishing license, but the vessels had no registration or authorization from the Guatemalan port. Belize's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in a release issued this evening, stated, quote, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Belize Embassy staff in Guatemala, since receipt of this information early this afternoon, has confirmed the identities of those detained and have been in communication with the individuals to confirm they are in good health. Government officials will continue to engage with Guatemalan and OAS representatives in this matter. The government of Belize will keep the public informed as developments unfold. End of quote. Another fatal road traffic accident was reported earlier today when 35-year-old Ernest Garcia Jr. Garcia, who is a coconut vendor in Belize City, was heading to Orange Town when the incident occurred. Assistant Commissioner of Police Edward Broster, who heads Rural Eastern Division, briefed the media on the details.
Friday, the 27th of May 2016, we received information of a traffic accident between mile 13 and 14 on the Philip Golson Highway. When our police were dispatched to the area, they observed a white Dodge Ram pickup truck along with a single individual dressed in blue shirt who was lying face down alongside the vehicle. Apparently the vehicle is used to transport coconuts. It was later learned that the person name was Ernest Oswald Garcia, 31 years, who unfortunately died on the spot. It is apparent that he was traveling from Belize City direction to Orange Walk when it is obvious that he lost control of his vehicle and was flung out the vehicle and dragged on the pavement where he succumbed to his injuries. A closer inspection of the Dodge Ram revealed that the door was unable to shut close, and we believe that alcohol may have been a factor in this case.
The victim's brother, Oren Garcia, told the media the family was shocked to receive the news.
There was a man on the black truck this morning stop and tell me my brother was getting an accident. I tell him no, I can't, my brother can get load. We got to see it. Right, that's what we see it. Yeah.
So when you went up there, you saw your brother's body?
Yeah, I find my brother dead on the ground.
Police will take blood samples from the deceased to see if alcohol was a factor in this traffic incident. Early this morning, a road traffic accident occurred at mile 19.5 on the George Price Highway. Assistant Commissioner of Police Edward Broster shared those details.
We had a second accident on the George Price Highway where a dark gray Prism flipped several times and landed on the shoulder of the road. The driver or occupants of that vehicle abandoned the scene, but we just learned that he is at the Hatterville police station making a report as regard to that accident. At this time, we don't have any further details. We will be furnishing the details of that to you later on in the day.
The driver of the vehicle was a BDF soldier, Victor Aldana. He told police he had just left the BDF camp and was heading to Cayo when he fell asleep and ran off of the road, causing the vehicle to flip. Aldana did not sustain any major injuries. 19-year-old Zachary Knox, a resident of Rio Grande Crescent who allegedly fired shots at Assistant Commissioner of Police Chester Williams, was charged with aggravated assault and use of deadly means of harm when he appeared today before Magistrate Carlon Mendoza. The charge of aggravated assault was for Knox alone, but the charge of use of deadly means of harm was also for Larry Wright, Devon Sankey, and Justin Hyde, who were arraigned about 2 weeks ago. Knox was brought to court today because he had been hospitalized after he was allegedly beaten by the police. All 4 defendants were allegedly involved in a shooting incident which had occurred on Dolphin Street. What followed then was a high-speed chase by Williams, who was in the area and had heard the shots. Knox, the alleged gunman, had alighted from the vehicle and had fired shots at Williams, but they all missed. The death of a fellow officer is hard on a precinct, especially when that person takes their own life. The tragic incident of PC Edward Gonzalez has left many questioning what led to the officer taking his own life. As difficult as it may be for family members, co-workers who saw Gonzalez every day are finding it difficult to cope. Love News spoke to the officer in command, Superintendent Suzette Anderson, at Precinct 3, where Gonzalez was stationed.
At times, I would find out that he is somebody who is always knocking on my door to basically speak about situations involving other fellow colleagues. He was that type of officer who always showed concern for what is taking place around him. Sometimes he would stop in briefly and he would say, "Officer, you know what, I think we need to pay keen attention to this police officer because I believe that he's going through some sort of problem or some issue and so forth that needs attention and so forth." He was that type of person who always showed that concern.
While most saw Gonzalez as jovial, there were issues that most did not know Gonzalez was suffering from. He had recently lost a loved one, and to add on to it, he had ongoing issues in court. Superintendent Anderson told us that their investigations are pointing in that direction, that his actions were not spontaneous.
There are certain information that has been able to suggest to us that it is something that he may have planned. Just based on the circumstances of how I have been briefed of what transpired, the sequence of events puts that picture in our minds that it is something that he may well had intended and planned to do, but at the same time not showing the signs to any of his colleagues in terms of that actual incident. Shortly prior to the incident, he had asked the driver of the vehicle to drop him off to the station, to the police station, because he needed to do something. He never did express what was that something that he needed to do. He just shared that information and he was left off at the station.
Superintendent Anderson spoke to us about the most recent issue Gonzalez was facing, which could have been a factor in this incident.
I did not know him to have any sort of signs of depression, but what I can tell you is that I know that sometime during the month of March of this year, there was a death that really, it appears that it affected him because it was the death of his wife, whom he had separated from for quite some time. But out of that relationship, there is a daughter. And I recall him saying that he now has to be both mother and father for his daughter. She's 13 years of age. And he showed that concern of taking up that full paternity and maternity role. But there were some issues in regards to the child living with the mom and her mom family. And I do know that recently he had expressed that he was experiencing some difficulties in terms of fighting for custody of his child. And I know for a fact as well that this Friday here is a date set aside that he would have been in court to deal with that custody battle for that child.
As mentioned, today was the date set for Gonzalez's custody case for his daughter. As we said, PC Gonzalez's death is taking a toll on his colleagues. Love News sat down with Assistant Commissioner of Police Chester Williams to talk about some of the issues police officers deal with and the level of support that is offered.
Police have to visit different type of scenes, murder scenes, and they see heinous things. Again, that could develop stress. They have stress at home. Then sometimes they do have difference of views or opinion with their supervisors, and again, that brings stress. And sometimes you have your own internal self-conflict, which also causes stress, coupled with sometimes financial issues, which again could cause stress to police officers. There are different factors that do cause stress to police officers, and there are things that as supervisors that we must be cognizant of, and to see how best we could assist them in alleviating some of their stressful situations.
Williams spoke of some of the red flags that they look for, which might indicate an officer is going through a rough time.
There are some policemen and women who
The mental preparation to become a police officer starts from the beginning. Williams spoke about the preparation that the officers undergo at the police academy.
The training academy has become even more professionalized now than it once was. And we have seen where the quality of lecturers who are invited to the academy to do lectures to the recruits are people of impeccable character and people with a wealth of knowledge and experience that they can impart to these young potential officers in the academy. And the officers goes through varying degree of training to be able to handle situations of such a nature. But you would know that you can have all the training in the world, but when you're encounter or when you're faced with a situation, that requires some degree of attention, because it could cause stress as well. We cannot train you for everything then at the academy, and there are certain encounters that police officers will have on the job that they will have to apply themselves and see how they themselves can deal with it until we can get them some degree of professional help to be able to overcome that situation. Even before you go into training, you have to go through a comprehensive medical examination and physical examination, which also has to do with looking at the police officers, the potential recruit mental ability to be able to handle the stress of being a police.
However, stress can overcome an officer notwithstanding the preparation he or she undergoes. Williams spoke about the support that is available to officers within the academy when the officer has too much to bear.
We can only know when the officer speaks. Unless we see a clear red flag that something is wrong with the officer, then we would try to solicit the information from them. And even with that, it is still up to the individual officer to open up to us to decide whether or not he wants us to know what the issue is that is affecting him or her. So if they say to us what the problem is, then we seek professional counseling for them. And this is done through the Employees Assistance Program, which is through the Ministry of Public Service. A program which, through the Commissioner of Police, our CEO and the CEO of Ministry of Public Service had put together to be able to assist police officers to overcome or to deal with stressful issues. And the program is one which is working. And many officers have gone through this program, and we have received some positive feedback from the councillors of that unit, and we have seen changes in some of the officers who have gone through the program itself. Again, as commanders, the commissioner have always stressed to us to ensure that we look out for the welfare of our officers, and he have always been supportive in terms of us getting the resources that the officers need to be able to perform.
Williams stressed the need to ensure that police officers are well-functioning individuals to be able to carry out their duties in the community. The United Democratic Party will be holding a convention on Sunday to elect the party's first deputy party leader. The post was left vacant after Orange Walk North Area Representative and Deputy Prime Minister Gaspar Vega resigned from the post. As has been reported, the two men vying to fill the position are Minister of National Security John Saldiva and Minister of Education Patrick Faber. Today, we asked Faber about Sunday's convention.
I've done all that I can do. I will continue working, of course, right up until the last ballot is put in that box on Sunday. But I am very confident of a win, and that is because I have done the groundwork that is necessary. I have been in the homes of the delegates. I have met with the groups. I have communicated my message as I vie for this position of first deputy leader of the party.
There have been allegations that the race for deputy party leader has been causing friction within the UDP. Faber commented on that and shared what's ahead after the convention.
And after these conventions are over on Sunday, we begin the process of pulling everything back together. If some argue that things had fallen apart, I don't think so. And we will mend whatever needs to be mended and get back on track of governing the country, but also building our party so that we can make that fourth historic term.
And in the event that Minister of National Security John Saldiva wins the convention, what will Faber do? The minister comments.
I would hasten to point out that it is highly unlikely that that will be the case. But in the minor chance that it does happen, yes, John Saldiva is a very good friend of mine. I keep on saying that to people. Yes, there are little tensions, as is the case with all races. But he and I will continue to be friends. If that small chance becomes a reality that he in fact wins on Sunday, he will have my full support as the first deputy leader of the party. I give him my full support, and I will continue to work with him and all my colleagues that support him.
The United Democratic Party conventions to elect a deputy party leader is poised to take place this Sunday. A total of 589 delegates are eligible to participate in this upcoming convention. The Raspberry Pi Jam is an exposition highlighting the innovations from more than 30 high schools across the country. The event is being hosted by the Public Utilities Commission that has invested approximately $500,000 for students to bring their innovations to life. Minister of Education Patrick Faber and consultant for the Public Utilities Commission, Carla Hart, spoke about the event, stating that the innovations are a demonstration of what will lead the way in the country.
I think that the way forward in this country in terms of our economy has got to be through service. And while tourism is the buzzword in that regard, I think Belizeans being able to be innovative and to create services, especially as it relates to technology, and being able to market this at home and even abroad is the way forward. And so we embrace this initiative.
Been a lot of dedicated people involved, so it's been a shared load. But the first phase saw training of the teachers in the use of the Raspberry Pi so that they could then take it back to their respective schools and work with their computer clubs and their computer classes to develop their projects. It's been over a half year under development, and this today is the fruition of all that work with a lot of people involved and a lot of commitment from the Ministry of Education, as you've heard Mr. Blade say today, as well as from the PUC.
The Raspberry Pi innovations are not intended to be a one-time event. Minister Faber and Consultant Hart spoke about the plans that the Ministry of Education and the PUC have to keep the innovations going.
Of all the projects that are coming up, we see stoplights, we see temperature monitoring devices, we see automated systems being built for agriculture, and so these are things that we all know are necessary in our Belizean society and are necessary, in fact, over the world, and these are things that people use on a daily basis, and so it must be that we applaud this because it points that our young people especially, I'm happy that this is being done with our young people, are moving in a path that they can be relevant in the Belizean society but also in the wider world. We intend to continue to support this kind of development in our schools. Much of this that is being done though is a learned skill, and so we believe that if we continue to train our young people, that the money will follow from the private sector and from investors to assist our young people in fleshing out their skills and their talent. And
I think the commission at the PUC put together some very handsome prizes to help along that line. So the prizes that I think will be offered to the winners are going to indeed help them along that path.
When it comes to innovation, the key is to keep trying until it works and to encourage the students to keep up their efforts despite failure. Minister Faber shared his story on his own failed innovation.
I tell the story of my trials with stew beans. At first, I got advice from a person who taught me how to, or was giving me the instructions as to how to make stew beans and pigtail. Well, I followed most of the instructions, but I guess the person forgot to tell me, or maybe I didn't follow as closely as I should have. But I forgot to, or I did not boil the pigtail to take the salt out.
In the evening, the PUC announced the winners of the competition, which was the group from Corozal Community College, who presented an automatic irrigation system. Group member Carlos Lopez talks about where the inspiration came from and what the group won.
From being up northward, we focus a lot on the sugarcane industry. We thought we could help those areas of the sectors that are in dire need, like the sugarcane industry, the citrus industry, and banana industry. So that's where we got our idea from. It helps alleviate the farmers' waste of time going out in the field and watering their plants. So because of this, farmers can do other tasks and help produce better yield of their crops. Well, the first prize was a 3D printer, which will greatly aid in building of small components that we could have used instead of taking apart parts from other machines. So it will greatly benefit Raspberry Pi. We also had in mind making obstacle avoidance car, which will assist those who are impaired when it comes to driving, so it will help alleviate car accidents. If somebody is able to fund us, we may be able to incorporate this into business or something like it.
The Organization of American States has been at the center of the negotiations between Belize and Guatemala, but of recent, there were serious concerns that the OAS may have to pull out as their funding was on the verge of being depleted. In an effort to keep them in office at the adjacency zone, both Belize and Guatemala were making efforts in getting funding from international parties, particularly the Group of Friends. Love News has recently learned that in addition to a commitment from Mexico in mid-March of this year, the administration in Turkey has committed to giving $200,000 towards the operations of the OAS at the adjacency zone. Noteworthy is that Turkey is not one of the 22 countries that make up the Group of Friends. The Group of Friends was established in the confidence-building measures that were adopted by Belize and Guatemala in 2003. and it consists of a group of 22 countries, 22 members, and observing states that provide political and financial support to the process. They provide advice to the Secretary General, and they also provide financial contributions to maintain the office in the adjacency zone and the political process going. The National Fire Service has seen the month of April peak with about 200 cases of bushfires reported around the country. Today was an extremely busy day for firefighters, as explained by the station manager, Orrin Smith.
It was just one of those days. We had several bushfires occurring across the Belize district today. The trucks were constantly on response. In fact, even while the trucks were at some response, calls keep coming in for other bushfires occurring that we could not just respond to immediately. In fact, today we have just one such incident where a close person to the department had her house threatened by a fire. And in order to respond from that, a unit had to break off from one fire. In fact, we had to send a pickup from here, not a pumper, with firemen, with fire beaters, just to assist that individual. That's how busy today was.
While some fires may be naturally sparked, majority of them are intentionally ignited by landowners, particularly in the rural areas. Smith says it is highly advised that residents of rural areas establish break lines around their property.
Each year, the dry season creates favorable conditions for wildland and brush fires because of dry conditions, warm winds, and the vegetation gets dried. It becomes more easily to ignite. And you have individuals who have properties that they are not yet utilizing, particularly in the rural areas, and they grow up with vegetation. These individuals perhaps wait until the dry season enters and they start burning off their property. The problem with that is that often these burnings are unplanned, and these are the ones that creates the nuisance to others. It is advisable that those living within the rural areas establish a fire path around their property and also keeps the grass on the premise as low as possible. In fact, we even advise that there is a 4 feet knuckle down, so to speak, clearance around the structure, literally. When you have tall grass and you have a bushfire, then you have tall flames. But if the grass on your premise is kept low, low grass creates low flames because there's not much fuel to burn, and it's easily to control and maintain.
With the dry season being the peak time for bushfires, Smith says the National Fire Service launches their fire campaigns on safety.
The fire department on a yearly basis goes on a fire campaign, a fire safety campaign to share information on precautions that can be taken for wildland and brush fires in the rural areas. In particular, these are some of the pamphlets. If you focus on the pamphlets clearly, you can see that there's precautions inside for those to follow. It says, keep your lawn cut low at all times. It says, should fire bands or hot ash blow onto your lawn, this will prevent flare-ups during the threat to your home. Keep at least 3 to 4 feet of the perimeter of your property cut to the ground. This will serve as a fire line or fire break. It stops the fire from jumping up to your literally to your structure. It also says never attempt to burn on a windy day. The wind may carry these fire. It'll basically spread the fire more easily. It will get it out of your control. You don't burn alone. You burn with others to support you. You have garden hose or drum of water to control the fire. You don't burn in large piles. As I said, large piles create heavy flames. the wind will pick up the ambers if you burn on windy day and carry them across. These may land on thatch structures or even screens for houses that has screen windows, and screens ignite quite easily. So we do campaign to try and alleviate the nuisance of bushfires regularly.
Motorists who travel the highways or areas that are prone to bushfires are advised to switch on hazard lights and headlights when driving through the area. Ensure windows are up and vents are closed, and primarily avoid driving through the heavy smoke. Bushfires are common in the dry season, which we are currently facing in Belize. Today, however, was an extremely busy day for the firemen in the Belize district, as there were several threats to homes and properties due to bushfires. While there was no loss of life or home, there was a loss of 2 horses in the Belize district. Love News spoke with station manager Oren Smith on the protection of animals and other assets.
What might have happened is that people with animals, the animals need grazing. And when you see bushes grow up, they might see it as a nice graze for the animal, and they usually would take these animals and put them in these open areas. But the animals would be either tied so that they can't run off, but with a long enough string that they have quite a spot to eat on. And when wildfires grow, if these animals are not being constantly watched like a good shepherd over their flock, and you have an animal tied, well, it is not going to be a good thing for that animal if the wind is blowing that fire in their direction. I would advise that people who graze animals, especially in the rural areas prone to bushfires, that they have someone constantly looking after these animals to ensure that in the event while such wildfires do occur, that individual can quickly get those animals to safety.
The horses were tied in the Western Pines area. Police suspect that this was a case that may have been one of arson and not spontaneous combustion or bushfire in that area. The Ministry of the Public Service held its open day in Belmopan today. Correspondent Fem Cruz stopped by and he spoke with some of the participants.
Today, Friday, May 27, the Western Region Public Service Information Day Fair was held at the Sajad Brown Field in Belmopan. It started this morning with an open ceremony to commence the fair. Love News stopped by and spoke to Honorable Frank Mena, Minister of Public Service, Energy and Utilities.
The purpose of this is to showcase what the public service has to offer. Many a times, a lot of our information becomes uninformed and the decisions we make are skewed. And so, but when you know, you can make better decisions, and today's activity allows, there's the availability of the various public service departments. There's a survey also being done to find out customer satisfaction and so on and so forth. So it is a day in which information is being gathered, and it's a long tradition and we continue to embrace that tradition.
I'm Sylvia Usher, the Administrative Officer in the Department of Immigration and Nationality Services. This year we are portraying the border experience. Our focus this year is on the travel documents, the types that Belize offer, and we are simulating the border. So when you come in, you're given a travel document. We ask you to stamp in and stamp out legally as the law dictates, and we explain the services that we offer in terms of travel documents.
My name is Sarah Castillo and we're from the National Library Service. What we usually do, we go around trying to get kids interested into reading and try to show them how they can have fun. What we do, we usually do puppet shows and skits, and all of these come with a little message so that they can have fun at the same time but learn something.
We're here representing the Central Building Authority. We're the overseeing body of overseeing construction in Belize. We're dispersing information to the public and getting them oriented with the work that we do. We encourage them to become aware that for construction to happen in Belize, it must be a set of approved plans by us. And when it comes to that, there's a certain process that happens. You have the application process, the submittal of plans, and the actual revision of the plans. After that, we have what we would call the payment of the permit fees when your project is approved. And we try to keep up as much as we could with our project STEM. We have different levels of the construction process that we follow up, from the foundation side to the actual completion of the building and giving a certificate of its completion.
I'm here, Ms. Trisha Pelayo from the Bangapan City Council. Out here, the Bangapan City Council is promoting the awareness about the Zika virus. As you are well aware that we have another confirmed case in the country, and we're out here promoting volunteerism. We have a form that we're asking people to please fill out and give your time to the Bangapan City Council. We have upcoming cleanup campaigns that will be happening, and we want to get your information so you can come out and assist us in fighting this virus. Also, we're out here promoting what the council does on a day-to-day basis, and also we will launch a one-week campaign soon in fighting the Zika virus. So we're encouraging people to come out and assist us.
This is Brother Fem Kush reporting from the nation's capital city, Bangapan, for Love FM.
The final segment of the 4th Annual Christian Spirit Award competition was held in Punta Gorda. We hear more in this report from our correspondent, Paul Mahang.
The Christian Spirit Award competition included several aspects of primary school academic program, as explained by one of the event coordinators, Andy Froelich.
This is our 4th Annual Christian Spirit Award, and what this is a series of competitions, fine arts and religious knowledge competitions in the Catholic schools management in Toledo. And the purpose of our event is, on many reasons, mainly to enliven the faith in the hearts of the classrooms and of the children in our school district, to give them exposure and to spark a creative energy that they'll be able to bring and include their faith in and relate their faith to their own lives. So in the competition, we have, for Standard 4 students, individual essay and poetry competitions. And then for the Standard 4 classes, we have music, a music performance, and an art showcase, where they take themes from the different books in the Bible, usually the Gospels, and they bring them to life in those different categories, and they relate them to their own lives and their own experiences living in the Toledo district. We've been going on since February, late February, when we had zone elimination contests in the 6 different zones in the district. And the first place winners of all those competitions then come together in the district finals to compete against all the finest poets and writers and artists and musicians that the Toledo district that really get into and have an interest in religion. So 3 students from each class, and same way as we've been going on since about March, and we've had zone elimination contests, and the 6 first place schools competed in our district finals, and so we really had the best that Toledo has to offer in this contest.
Andy Froelich mentioned that prizes were presented to 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place winners by Toledo Catholic Primary School's Assistant Local Manager Timoteo Bo, but the championship spotlight focused on 1st place winners.
So an essay from St. Joseph RC School in Barranco, we have Rhea Arnold. In the art contest, our 1st place winner was San Pedro Columbia RC School. In poetry, from Little Flower RC School, Stephen Williams. And the music showcase, our 1st place winner was Little Flower RC School. And in our Jeopardy contest, for the Standard 6 students, 1st place winners were from the school of Santa Cruz RC School. And on that team, we had Eric Mess, Ezekiel Conti, and Harmon Chok.
The 6 schools in this year's Toledo Christian Spirit Award competition were also winners of the elimination zones leading up to the Toledo District Final on May 20. The participating zone champions in the district finals, held at Father Ring Parish Hall, was Santa Cruz, Big Falls, St. Benedict of Punta Gorda, Santa Teresa, St. Joseph of Barranco, and St. Mark of Ottoshaw. Reporting for Love News, Paul Mahone, Punta Gorda.
The Christian Workers Union has been busy in recent negotiations, as just yesterday they signed on to 2 separate collective bargaining agreements in Belize City. We have told you of the CBA signed onto with the Belize Port Authority, whereby the union and non-union staff members of the Belize Port Authority will be getting salary increases annually for the next 4 years, at least retroactive to April 1st, 2016. Just before that signing with the Belize Port Authority, the CWU had signed on to a collective bargaining agreement with the Central Bank of Belize. Love News learned more of this 3-year agreement from CWU's President Audrey Matura Shepherd.
Had many issues we had to deal with, and it reached a point where we at least could have agreed on the main issue, which was a salary increase that the staff wanted. There were certain other things they wanted, but management was not yielding. But if they yielded, there were certain things they wanted to take away. So the trade-offs weren't worth it for the staff, and they said, just give us our increase, and we will renegotiate a new CBA after July, starting July 2017, because that CBA is only for 3 years, and it was for 3 years, but it took us almost 2 years to negotiate the CBA that is for 3 years. So it's retroactive to the
January 1 last year.
Yeah, to 2015.
According to the Christian Workers Union, over 100 staff members at Central Bank will benefit from this new CBA. Matura Shepherd says these negotiations are a part of their efforts in trying to bring the 9 agreements they are responsible for up to date.
At the Central Bank, there are 2 bargaining units. The Security Department has a separate CBA from the rest of the staff.
When we took over, which it will soon be 3 years, when we took over at the end of 2014, December 2014, and we actually started work in January of 2015. No, 2013, sorry.
2014.
2014 we started. We found a situation where a lot of the CBAs had long been expired. And so everybody wants their CBA. And we also found a situation where there were entities that are members of the union but could not get a CBA. And some of them we will leave and there will not be a CBA. Because of the 10 of them, there are some that you find management, they know that they must do it and they want to do it, but there's a lot of reluctance. Entities that have never had a CBA that we were hoping to negotiate CBAs for them are BSCFA, Belize City Council, Statistical Institute of Belize, Port of Belize Limited,
Stevedores,
which is with the Stevedores. Those are the 4 that I could think of, and the others have had CBAs that we've been negotiated and put in place. Since then, of course, FICB unit has left us. We did negotiate their CBA, that was very controversial and didn't end well. But we only have 9 units now that we deal with.
The Christian Workers Union says they continue negotiations with other entities, including the Social Security Board, which Matura Shepherd says has proven challenging due to political interference. As it relates to the pending agreement for the Stevedores and the Port of Belize Limited, Matura Shepherd says that remains unresolved. The Christian Workers Union has a mandate to fight for its union members and to ensure that their employers follow the labor laws of Belize when it comes to salaries, benefits, and the likes. With the recent signing of the 2 collective bargaining agreements with the Central Bank of Belize and the Belize Port Authority, CWU's President Audrey Matura Shepherd highlighted the difference between pension and severance and how some employers have attempted to hoodwink their workers on this issue.
A very important point that I think should be noted, and that's severance. While the law allows for 1 week for the first 10 years and then 2 weeks for after 10 years, what the port has done after you've been there 15 years, you get 3 weeks severance. And I like this because some of the units have trying to hoodwink our workers and they want us to agree to subsume severance and the pension. That is illegal. The law says you're entitled to severance. If a manager or a management decides to do a pension scheme, you can't say because I give you pension you won't get your severance. But one unit at least has been hoodwinked, not ours, from another union. And I think I want to address that because clear cut wherever we go, it seems that that's what they want to try and do, and that is unlawful, it's illegal. And those who want to say it is, then I think at some point someone will have to challenge it. So I applaud this management for realizing that, look, after you work so many years and commit so long to an entity, what's so wrong if you have to get severance to give you something decent?
When the Christian Workers Union negotiations CBAs on behalf of their members, it is basically to ensure that the workers are treated and compensated fairly for their services rendered. The Belize Port Authority is a statutory body established in July 1980 and following under the Ministry of Works and Transport. It is overseen by a board of directors with a chairman that represents the minister as well as 2 ex officio members being the financial secretary and the chief executive officers, and 7 other members nominated by the minister for a period of 8 years. In recent interviews with the Ports Commissioner Merlene Bailey Martinez, we learned of the mandate of the Belize Port Authority.
Mainly, our work is centered around boarding foreign vessels for inspection. We're responsible for aids to navigation, which are buoys, beacons, lighthouses. We're responsible for providing data for the hydrographic charts, the charts that mariners use to navigate our waterways. Those are the things we're responsible for, as well as licensing of local vessels and captains. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
As it relates to the sources of revenues for its daily operations, Commissioner Martinez spoke of where the monies come from.
We get funding from dues coming off the vessels, the international vessels. We get we collect when we license vessels, license boat captains, all of those things. We collect revenue from tourists, from those coming by sea. The cruise passengers, we get a head tax, you could call it, from cruise passengers. From cargo vessels, we get depending on the size of the vessel. So there are various streams of revenue that we have. And I'm glad you brought that up because the viability of this CBA will rest directly on the efforts of the staff. So it is, yes, it has to, exactly. So right now we are seeing that we can afford it, but it will depend, especially in the future, on how well we perform our duties in collecting revenue.
Minister Rene Montero is the substantive head of the Belize Port Authority, with Edmund Castro being the Minister of State. Tomorrow, the Belize Cancer Society will be holding their annual Cancer Walk. Thousands of individuals who support the fight against cancer join in the 10-mile walk every year. The walk from Ladyville to Belize City is one that the Cancer Society looks forward to every year. Love News spoke to Senior Administrator at the Belize Cancer Society, Heather Renault, who told us about the significance of the walk.
The walk, besides it's an awareness event, it's one of the biggest fundraising events for the Cancer Society. But besides that as well, the walk is used to sensitize other people about cancer. It is used to create a community aspect where people can share their experiences. They can talk with each other. Family members can exchange. Survivors can meet each other. So the walk, as we say, it's our meet and greet session for the month of May. So come out early. If you didn't get your t-shirts, don't be disappointed. You can buy a bottle, you can get a hat, you can get rags, you can get anything with the cancer memorabilia, and we would sincerely appreciate your contribution.
Renault says that this year they have planned something a little bit different than before and after the event.
This year event, we're going to be having a big barbecue sale after the event. So by the time the walkers come in, we'll have barbecue here by the police department. We always do a warm-up session, but this year we're choreographing it to some fan lions. So I am pretty sure that people will go out there and this will boost them for the year, that they will want to continue this 30-minute exercise on their own after Cancer Walk.
There will be buses provided for those who need a ride to Ladyville at the starting point. Renault spoke on the availability of transportation.
The walk starts from in front of Selena's Bar and Grill in Ladyville yearly, and this year our buses starts leaving from 3:45. So we ask persons to get out there early, get on the bus early so that you can secure your seats. Now there will be multiple buses for everybody. There is buses at Pelote bus stop, buses at Channel 5, buses at Shell One Stop on the Boulevard and Pong Yard gas station. So if you're on the highway as well by Brody's or by Friendship, just come on the sideway and the buses will definitely pick you up. But please note, the last bus leaves at 4:30. There will be no buses after 4:30. It finishes here at the Cancer Society, where we have raffles, we have companies coming out, our corporate sponsors, Boyne & Boyne will be doing water stations, Powerade. We have Sandcast giving out the IDs, they'll be giving out booster shots. We have Grace Kennedy doing the milks, we have fruits. So there's a lot of free servicing, but we also invite you to come to the after event and purchase your breakfast here. Get your Johnny cakes, and if you're a company and you want your breakfast plates, call and order them from today. And we're pretty sure that we will have you filled tomorrow. By the time you get home 12 o'clock, you take your barbecue with you as well.
The walk begins at 5 a.m. in front of Selena's Bar in Ladyville and ends at the Belize Cancer Society office on Mercy Lane in Belize City. The number of road traffic accidents has been on a rise since the start of the year. Since January, over 30 accidents have been reported, most of them proving fatal. While alcohol is playing a major role, cell phones and other electronic gadgets are also contributing factors. Assistant Commissioner of Police Edward Broster of Rural Eastern Division, who recently recorded 7 road accidents in less than a week, says that highway patrols are just not enough anymore.
Our drivers tend to be distracted whilst driving on our roadways. And one of the main factors for that is the use of cell phones whilst driving. And we'll have to put some legislation in place to ban the use of cell phones whilst operating a vehicle. We have put highway patrol in place. We must put something in place to prevent drivers from the use of cell phones whilst operating a motor vehicle, because a lot of these accidents are being caused by the use of texting and drivers being distracted by their cell phone. Information is a demanding thing, is a interesting thing, and apparently some people just can't wait till they reach their destination to learn what that information is about. Hence the reason they take risk and look at their cell phones or read texts, what have you, and put themselves in danger and other people's lives in danger that are using our roadways.
Our thought conditioner for today comes from Rob Liano. It reads, quote, "If you don't know what you want, you'll never find it. If you don't know what you deserve, you'll always settle for less. You will wander aimlessly, uncomfortably numb in your comfort zone, wondering how life has ended up here. Life starts now. Live, love, laugh, and let your light shine." End of quote. This has been the Evening News on Love Television. We invite you to log on to our website at www.lovefm.com for transcripts of our news stories. Thank you for watching. Have a safe and enjoyable evening. I am Taryn Butcher.